And now, let us invite the man of the hour, Dr. Richard Claydon. Dr. Richard Claydon is a doctor of management from the Macquarie Graduate School of Management. His thesis on healthy, unhealthy leadership and organizational behavior in volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environments was the culmination of the longest and the most well funded research council project into change in the Australian history. Examined by the world leaders in the fields of management and change, it was awarded the highest achievable marks for a PhD. Dr. Richard has also run leadership and culture workshops for CEB, Gartner International Human Resource Directors Forum, numerous Australian and international clients, designed and taught MBA programs on leadership and change and organizational behavior. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Richard Claydon.
Thank you. I don't normally have crib notes, and there's a reason I have crib notes today. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Sandeep's first choice of metaphor, the journey. I had an interesting journey to get here today. You can tell I've got a slightly dodgy voice. That's part of my interesting journey story. But before I go into the journey metaphor, like any good MBA teacher, I'm going to get you to do some work. You've all got pieces of paper and pencils in front of you. Without talking to anybody else, I just want you to write down in one sentence, what is leadership? One sentence, what is leadership? I'm not suggesting it's an easy task. And once we have done that, some people are quick, some people have got it, bang, leadership, yay, I'm out of the room now, I don't need to be here anymore. Other people a little bit more reflecting about it. So once you've done it, turn to your companion, tell them what you've wrote, and then negotiate a combined what you think together. You have to agree together on what leadership is. Okay, so you negotiated a definition that you're both happy with. You can do it in groups of 3 if you need to. I think I might take this off. Okay, so once you've negotiated in your pair, negotiate on your table. One definition per table. What is leadership? So, like any good MBA teachers, I don't really care what your answer is. What I care about, what I care about is you've just learned something, that leadership has a contested definition. How many of you agreed instantly with the person sitting next to you had the same answer? Oh, a very few. Okay, so we had some. How many had completely different answers? Yeah, so we also have some very different answers. And you'll be negotiating. It's a contested definition. Nobody said, you can't just say leadership is this narrow thing. And so I don't really care about the answers. If you were in my MBA classes, I would say, define leadership and explain to me that you're right. Okay, and that would be your essay or your project. And you could do something that I totally disagreed with, but as long as it was convincing, you would get a high distinction. So the first metaphor, I promised you a metaphor. The first metaphor, the journey. Sandeep said we're all on a journey. But our journey's that much fun. Our journey's really that much fun. We go on holiday. We don't look forward to the journey to get to the end of the holiday. We look forward to the destination. And that was my journey to India. Last night at about 2 o'clock from memory, Sandeep, I sent Sandeep an email saying, I've missed my connection. I'm stuck in Mumbai airport. I don't know how I'm going to get there. And it's an interesting little story. I could tell that I was struggling to make my connection when I was sitting in the queue for immigration. It was a slow queue. And like I said, I was looking at the watch going, okay, this is beginning to be a bit worrying. I'm not going to get through necessarily in time. So I asked someone in the immigration, one of the immigration ladies, look, can I jump the queue, please? My flight's leaving. No, she looked at my boarding pass. No, you'll be fine. So I'm staying in the queue, and I'm not getting any closer. So I asked somebody else, can I please jump the queue? I'm going to miss my connection. Oh, no, you'll be fine. So I get through, and then I have to go and do all the fingerprint tests and the looking, and none of the machinery works. And every time I put a finger on, you have to do it again, and you have to do it again. So I finally get through that, and then they don't tell me. They stamp your passport with your visa, and then like 3 meters away, you have to show the passport again to actually get into the rest of the airport, which they don't tell you. So you put your passport away, and you're walking through, and he says, right, passport again. You're, oh, well, where's the visa stamp? And you're going through all the pages with your flight already been called. And then you go, and then you've got to get your suitcase through a security check. And again, I asked in the queue, can you please get me through the security check quickly? I'm going to miss my flight. No, you have to queue up. Then the security check-in to get into domestic. I asked again, can I please get through the queue? No, you have to queue up. So at this stage, I'd asked for help 4 times in this journey. 4 different people working for the airport in different parts of the airport. Please, can I have some help? And then I started asking the passengers, the other customers, can I please stand in front of you? Can I get you through? Oh, yeah, of course you can. Please come ahead. You have to take your shoes off. You have to take your belt off. You have to do this to get through. And they were brilliant. The passengers were brilliant. And they got me through, and I got through quite quickly, and I thought, I'm actually going to make it. I went up to the information. I said, right, I haven't got time to look at the boards. Where's my gate? Gate 67. So I run up. I'm sprinting through the airport to gate 67 to get there to find out it's gate 45, which is the other end of the airport, and I miss it by 2 minutes. So I say to them, look, I've missed the flight. I've just missed the flight. What do I do? So you have to go to gate M13, and there'll be someone waiting for you, and they'll get you on the next flight. Which, at 2 o'clock, you think, okay, I'll get on the next flight. I'll go back through. I might sit in the lounge and try and get some sleep. They failed to tell me that no one would turn up at that counter until 4:20. So at 2 o'clock, they sent me there. 2 hours and 20 minutes I waited for someone to come into the counter. And again, nobody from the airport staff helped me. Passengers were brilliant. They told me how to get on the internet. They told me where I could charge my phone up. So I could send Sandeep an email and tell him I wasn't coming. And then when I finally got on the flight, another passenger sent him an email saying, I'm on this flight, so this is when you need to connect him up. So what I'm thinking from that story, there's a possible interpretation of that story, is that the Indian airport, or Mumbai airport, only employs useless people. And yet all the passengers are great. Now that can't be the case. It can't be the case that everyone in the airport is useless. And everybody I asked for help, and including the girl who finally put me onto the flight. She just wanted to work out whether it was my mistake so she could get away with it and not put me on the next flight. And I said, no, it was immigration. I asked for help. Nobody let me through. So are they all useless? No, they're not. Because everybody else, every other Indian in that airport helped me when I asked them. The only people that didn't help me were the people being paid to help me. Okay? So something is going on in leadership and management in Mumbai airport that stops the people from doing the job the way they want to do it. One person out of the 4, if I'd jumped one of the queues, I would have made it. But not one person helped me out of the 4 I asked. So what is going on in leadership and management in Mumbai airport to stop one person taking responsibility for a passenger? Now, they don't care that a management academic gets stuck in Mumbai airport. It means nothing to them. Okay, they're going to keep on getting people coming through the airport. It's not going to cost them any money. It's not a problem for them at all. But it's still people not taking responsibility. And by responsibility, I mean the ability to respond to a situation that you're not expecting. Okay? Every one of them had that ability to respond to me in stress, saying, I'm not going to make my flight. All of them chose not to. Why? Is it because the airport is process and rule driven, and they just go, no, it's more important to keep you in the queue because I might lose my job for doing something different? Or are they just apathetic? Are they just zombies who leave their brain at the door and go, right, then my job is so boring and I'm not allowed any kind of responsibility at all. So all I do is sit there and do my job and get bored. And I don't actually want to respond because I'm so disengaged and I'm so bored. Now, I know from a project that I was involved with, mainly a consulting partner was involved with, in a supermarket. 20 years ago, she made her career by turning the supermarket into the leading player in the United Kingdom. And she got all of the staff involved. She got all of the, anyone from a shelf stacker to a warehouse person. They were all involved in this transformation project. They all got engaged with the project, and the supermarket went like that. 20 years later, the supermarket's gone back down here. She was invited back in to sort of redo the project, and she found the same thing. The staff were zombies. They would walk through the door, and they wouldn't think, and they wouldn't take any risks. They just did what they were told with the minimum of effort and went home again. And she couldn't reenact the transformation. So over 20 years, something has changed. Staff were engaged, and were involved, and were enthusiastic, and did stuff. We've now had 20 years since then, and something's happened, both at the airport and in the supermarket. They leave their brains at home. Now, all of the other Indians in this airport were brilliant. All of the passengers were brilliant. I'm sure all of these airport staff at home are equally brilliant. We knew in this supermarket case that everyone, when they went home, were creative, had interesting hobbies, did interesting things with their lives. They just wouldn't take it to work. And that's one of the things, that's sort of the kind of thing we're looking at today. Why won't they take it to work? And we're trying to do it through a metaphorical investigation of alcoholic leadership. Hopefully this works. So, mind the gap. I don't know if you have mind the gap in India. You certainly do in the UK and Hong Kong when you catch trains. Please mind the gap. Please mind the gap. I think this sums up my research possibly better than anything else. Mind the gap in the future of work. So the gap in the future of work, and I'll talk about it again a bit later on, but the big gap in the future of work. We are at the end, I think, of the organizational culture paradigm. We are all fitting into cultures. Excuse me. We all get fitted into cultures. We all get hired because we match and we fit, and we follow the rules and we can be measured. Excuse me. As I said, I've got a dodgy throat because I've been in an airport for far longer than I anticipated. So we do the, we're in that paradigm, but the future of work is not going to be a culture paradigm. Someone open this. The future of work is not going to be a culture paradigm. Something is going to change. And what it seems is the future of work is going to be the complexity paradigm. So instead of everybody being in a monoculture, and everybody behaving the same way, and everyone's following the same rules, we're going to have a complex, multi-interpretive way of working. We want critical thought, we want creative thought, we want analytical thought, we want synthetic thought, we want people who can adapt to different ways of working, adapt to different roles, work across different functions. Work is going to become more and more specialist at the same time. So your manager now might understand your job. In 5 years' time, you might be working for someone who doesn't understand your job at all. Or you might be managing someone and you don't understand what they do. You've somehow still got to lead them. You've still got to manage them. You've still got to make sure they're doing a good job. So the complexity paradigm is where we're going. And any one of us in this room would be lying if we said we knew what it looked like. We might have a few rough ideas, but we can't we can't predict, we can't say this is exactly what it looks like. We can give a rough idea of where it's going. So what's in that gap? In that gap is change and transformation. Once you move towards the complexity paradigm, once you move towards this unknown future, everything is changing all the time. So we have to learn to live with constant change. It's a very difficult thing to do because from birth we're trained that knowledge is something we know and something we can answer, and the questions are there and there are specific answers. It's not going to change. That's how we get tested at school. That's how we get tested at university. That's how we get tested even at PhD level. All of this stuff is set there. That's how you're tested and measured at work. This is what performance looks like. This is how you're tested. So changing that mindset so that we're actually we're having to deal constantly with change is a big problem. And what happens in a constantly changing environment? Well, there are three unhealthy reactions, three healthier ones. But the three unhealthy ones are things that you will see day in, day out. The first one is zeal. Now, zeal or over-enthusiasm for a state. Now, you can be over-enthusiastic for the current state of the organization, this golden past where everybody behaved the way you expected and everybody did things the way that you wanted them to do things and you understood it all, and that's the past, and that's what you don't want that to change because your life makes sense in that position. If you're a change manager, you might be zealous for the change. This future state where the organization is going to be this incredible high-performing place where everyone's working and everyone's enthusiastic and everyone loves the new culture. But zeal is one of the oldest psychologically distressed states you can be in. It was when psychology became a thing, this idea that when you were in a volatile or ambiguous situation, you were zealously locked into one side or the other. You couldn't cope with the fact that you were having to behave in multiple ways. And you went into this zealous, one-dimensional state. That is a psychologically distressing thing to do, and it actually causes you deep harm. So that's the first thing, and I think most people will know someone who's like that in one way or the other. When I presented this before, you see people's brains going, "Oh, well, that makes sense." So that's Capel down in accounting. That's what he's like. The second one. So you get toxic personas. You get people who struggle with cognitive confusion. I don't understand all of these multiple perspectives coming at me. How do I can't behave like that and then change and behave like that at the same time. So I'm confused about how I should act. And you've got thousands of signals coming at you all the time because work is so fast and change happens so fast. So with all of these signals and you're so confused, how do you respond? Well, first of all, you get anxious and frustrated. But you don't want people to know that you're anxious and frustrated. So what do? You hide it through anger and bullying and toxicity. I'm in control, and I don't want you to see that I'm not, so I'm just going to be aggressive at you so that you don't see that I don't understand. The third response, if you've got all of these people who are zealous and all of these people who are angry, the third response is an emotional response. It's like being in an abusive relationship where you're constantly walking on eggshells. Because if you do something that the zealots don't like, they will scream at you. If you do something that the bullies don't like, they will scream at you. And you never know what is the bully aligned with? What is the zealot aligned with? I'm constantly walking on eggshells. So for me, and I'm going to talk, I'm not going to talk too much about the healthy relationships, we'll go into that a bit later, but for me, that is the gap of leadership. Leadership has to deal with these people, because modern leadership is about delivering that change. Digital is coming. Augmentation is coming. So I presented in May with a guy called Dr. Andy Walsh, who's head of high performance in Red Bull. He talks, it was the first time he was ever allowed to present this in public. And he talked about a skull cap that they use for US fighter pilots. And you put this skull cap on, and it sent waves into your brain, and it